Hello, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, my name is shakey, and if it's not your first time here, then thank you so much for coming back. And today's video is going to be a little different. Here's the thing, I have a couple videos backlogged, but I have to I'm so excited for that are planned for me to film, but then I got recommendations and now I have to read them and then I can give them to you. I digress. I'm so excited for the upcoming videos, but I wanted to film something because I like being consistent on this. It's a big deal to me that I started YouTube and I would like to be consistent, and I think it's really important to show up for yourself. So without further ado, today's video is going to be sort of random, but in today's video, we're going to be talking about books, different book series that I DNF'd and why. There's lots of different reasons. Not all of them are like forever DNF'd, and almost none of them are completely writing off the author altogether. I love and respect authors as a book lover, and none of this is meant to be like mean. They're just like me and where I am now and my experience and what I want from books, and sort of just like asking more from certain authors for certain things, because I love parts of all of these books or I wouldn't have bought multiple or read multiple. Yeah, let's just have fun with this. None of this is meant to be like completely rude or mean. The first book we're going to be talking about is the From Blood and Ash series. This is a beloved series me and my big sister started reading last year in 2021. I thought that it was fantastic, and even though there were some parts that I thought were like meh, because if you read the inside it seems like a lot more politically is going to go on or with the world, I loved it personally. I would have probably, I don't like rating things, but it's easier when I'm not loving them anymore. I would have given this a 4 stars, and it really was for the vibes. There was vampires and a maiden, and I love sort of religious things in plots in the sense that she's a maiden, she's not to be touched or to experience pleasure, and she has a curiosity about these things. So I found that like really interesting and exciting. And I loved Hawk, her guard, who was to protect her. Everything about this I thought awesome. And the fact that there's vampire, I think she calls them vampire. But I am currently reading another book where they are literally called vampire, so maybe I'm wrong. But they're vampire. So it was like right up our alley. We read this book and loved it. And we read the second book, and that was sort of when the problem started for me. I thought, like, where's the plot and what's the point? So that gets me to why I am like DNFing this series. I think I will finish the 4th book because if you know, first of all, it's beautiful. My sister bought it, War of Two Queens. But if you know the ending of that 3rd book, like, it is really hard to leave it where it was because it was quite the cliffhanger. But if I finish this 4th book, which I think I will, I think I'll just make myself power through, then that will be the last one, because as much as I love sort of the world and even like the plus size character Poppy, who's brave even when she's afraid, and Hawk and later Castile, I just feel like there's no plot. This book does not really have a beginning, middle, or end, and it's never centered around it's centered around just Poppy. And there's so much going on in the world. Like in this book, she introduced a problem, vampire running rampant, and they are mindless. And there's also where she comes from. Children are asked to be like taken for like religious reasons. Later on, you find out that they're not actually taken for religious reasons, but as sacrifices essentially. It's very upsetting. They have like council meetings and stuff with the public to reassure them that everything's fine, but ultimately you think, wow, like that's such a big deal. And I love the idea of this religious aspect. In the 2nd book, a lot of what she was raised to believe and sort of like brought up to behave as is put into question by Castile. It's still like we never care about the world. I think that in fantasy especially, one person or just one thing is world enough of a reason for us to care about them. But I personally don't care about, and I'm sorry to say this because I love them so deeply, I personally don't care enough about any of the characters in this book series because it's just Poppy and Castile and Kieran, and I don't think that a part of the plot should literally be the possible threesome that they will have. Another main part of the plot is Wilhelmina's diary, which I'll admit was always so funny for me, and I really enjoyed it. But when you really think about this book afterwards, she adds so many different random things and just throws it at you. And at first you're like, oh, that's so cool. Maybe Poppy's a this instead of what we thought she was. but then you add a whole nother creatures and so many other things while it's never actually building or growing a story or plot. Like nothing happens, and that sounds really mean, so like I'm sorry. There's genuinely, and this is coming from someone who loved it, this series is kind of held together a lot by sex. It's not actually tackling any of the issues of this kingdom. If this would have been written how I thought it would be, about a girl who was religiously raised to believe one thing, having to go against her kingdom and take down these vampire, that would have been really amazing. But it's literally not about any of that. And even her brother Ian later on, who were like, oh my gosh, is he good? Is he bad? Even Castile, he is doing a lot of stuff to get his brother back. Everything just sort of goes flat. No questions are ever answered, really. Say that they care a lot, but no one's ever actually doing anything about it. They're mostly just sleeping together. I like their love. Poppy and Castile will, I think, continuously be a couple I love. But yeah, I'm sorry. That's why I stopped reading a series. There's just not enough plot for me. My big sister literally, and I just ranted about it, and that's why I had to come and like re-record this. And it's so loved. Like both of us hate that we don't really like it as much anymore. The next book series that I would like to talk about, and it's different because I am not DNFing this series yet, but if the third book, which is coming out really soon, I believe, is not what I hope for it to be, then I think I am just kind of gonna go ahead and just gracefully bow out of this. But the next one has to be The Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. I hope that I said that right. They're beautiful and intriguing, and I thought for sure that I would love them because I know she's a beloved author. She wrote the Jack the Ripper series, which I still would like to read. Like, look at that. It's beautiful. This is a story about two witch sisters, Vittoria, Emilia. Emilia is our main character. Vittoria is murdered. That's not exactly a spoiler. It's literally like right in here. And she's willing to do whatever it takes to get answers. And that includes like begrudgingly becoming like an ally with one of the 7 demons of hell. The demon she summons is Wrath. He's hot, and this book had enough in it that it was enjoyable. I was really excited for the next one because it's sort of a cliffhanger. It was good enough. Honestly, I think this one for me got a little hyped up. I won't say overhyped because I refuse to say that. I think things are just loved properly. It got very hyped, so I was just going in thinking I was gonna be like, whoa. But mostly I was into cannolis almost more than anything else. It is still pretty good. It's got a bit of a mystery factor to it. Definitely like a cool fall situation. I liked the first one. Same as Blood and Ash. The first one's always get you. But the second book, Kingdom of the Cursed, is her basically ending up through like the actions of the end of book 1, going to the one of the circles of hell with King of Wrath. She's actually the queen of the wicked. And she's still trying to find out what happened to her sister, and she's trying to come more into her powers and basically vows to herself that she'll be very powerful. Her and Raph's attraction grows, but nothing much happens in this book. I would say there's like almost no plot, even though we're around more of the demons of hell, or the princes of hell, I'm sorry. It was supposed to be her first NA book, and like the first one, not much romance happens, and that's okay. It's YA. I was totally fine with it. It's okay. But this one, nothing is going to happen. If you read this book and you like the series, I think that's cool. But just be warned, like, don't go into this thinking it's going to be super hot. It's not going to be super hot. Nothing quite happens. I mean, she vows to be more powerful. She thinks she's like, it's almost like she's playing dress up, and she's like, oh, I'm so cool. Like, I'm a badass, and I'm going to have all these demons. I don't know. She's trying to find answers still. She's trying to... It's just almost nothing. It's very flat for me. Definitely no spice that was like promised. Emilia in the first book was pretty smart, level-headed, not distracted. In this book, she's almost like, she's being obtuse for no reason. Like, you have access to a lot of things that you could have answers and you won't just ask. And Wrath has a lot of attraction to her, and she's got attraction to him, and nothing much happens. I guess the same situation, the plot, beginning, middle, and end. But I will say at the end, she has a cliffhanger, and it intrigued me enough that I will read the third book, but I think I'm gonna get it from the library and rehome these babies if I don't like the third one. So it's a different situation. For now, she's okay. I still wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, and I would rehome them. If this third one's not good, she's getting DNF'd. Sidebar. This is my favorite thing in the world right now, and I'm using this as a bookmark. Look how cute it is. Ah, it's gone. And Killua. Love them from Hunter x Hunter. Anyway, this book is freaking amazing and has motivated and inspired me to do a whole series on soft boys. They're my favorite ever because I've always loved sort of like a toxic, not toxic, but like grumpy, borderline toxic, needs to learn how to communicate book character, not in real life ever. But there's something about this guy, his name is Rin, that makes me just feel like, okay, I need to reevaluate this, because a sweet, kind, communicative man is actually very attractive, which sounds bad. Of course he's attractive, but he's, I think, my first soft boy. Anyway, I love him so much, so I'm gonna do a video on that. The next book that I want to talk about is Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I was really excited about this. This is definitely something that was well loved as well. That's the thing about all of these. I mean, no disrespect, I went in really excited, and for all of the first books, loved it. But as series go on, unfortunately, certain things just don't match up the same. Nonetheless, I think they're worth seeing for yourself, and I usually really still like the author. But anyway, this is a book that I really loved. Me and my sister, again, read this together, and we're just like, oh my god, is there anything hotter than Hades? And even in this book, there were some things like I thought they could learn how to communicate better, but I was just like, it's the first book. Persephone was very sheltered. That's okay. My problem with this book is the main character, Persephone. This is just single POV, although she does have a series that is Hades POV going around the same time frame. So Persephone just is very like, I'm sorry, and I love Persephone in Greek mythology and stuff, but Persephone is quite the immature character, and her and Hades almost don't even feel like a good couple. And I thought definitely placed a lot of the blame in this first book's experience, placed a lot of the blame on her mother for being like overbearing, but as the second book goes on, she does really bad things, makes huge mistakes, and I feel like she never really sees it. She's someone who has like no self-awareness of her actions and almost just thinks of herself as a victim in the first book. In the second book, same, but until the end, because something bad does happen, and I would never want anyone who read the second book to think I don't think she's a victim. She definitely was, but not with the situation with her best friend. She's immature and selfish and got in arguments that were unnecessary, doesn't know how to communicate, and honestly, sometimes neither did Hades. I like the plot of this enough, definitely just a sucker for any Hades and Persephone retelling. For Scarlett specifically, I will still read her other books, but I'm done with this series. I read books 1 and 2. I don't know how many there are meant to be. For Blood and Ash, I know they were meant to be, I think they're meant to be 8 books total. Something like that. But I am reading this and I really like it. Again, her plots or worlds are usually pretty well done. The character in this one started being someone who I just didn't like, especially if I have to be in their head and be with them. It wasn't worth staying with Persephone. And in this one, I really do like it. I like the plot, I like the character, and hopefully the second book's not out yet. The second book will be really good, but I have a lot of hope for this, and I will still read Scarlett St. Clair. I'm just sort of done with Persephone's story personally. The last book, and don't hate me for this, okay? I know, before I even say this, I know, all right? I know, but the last book that I DNF'd, I was a child, okay? Wait, okay. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, book 1. I read this first book and I loved it. Let me just paraphrase by saying I was a child. I was like 14. It was before the first movie came out, and I thought the movie was meh, but at the time there wasn't like social media and stuff, so I didn't know that other people hated it as well. That sounds mean, but it's like well known that those movies didn't really perform well and that the book lovers didn't like it. The first one was okay, but I watched the second one and I was like, this is horrible. So in my childlike mind, I thought, well, the second book's probably horrible, even though I knew the first one wasn't adapted well, but I was 14, so. But I fully intend on finishing this series, so this last one is a completely different situation. I literally plan on finishing it, loved the first one, and even though I'm 26, I'm gonna hop back into this world, and I'm really excited to finish it. I think it's gonna be part of my, maybe a reading challenge before the end of 2022. But yeah, that's really all I had to say today. But again, I really respect authors and love them, especially as readers. Like, we have a really good relationship between book readers and the writers, but sometimes you just outgrow certain things or don't like certain things, and that's okay. So none of this was meant to be taken as being super negative. It's just how it is. But here are the series that I DNF'd. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed. I have really exciting videos coming up here soon. I just have to read a couple more books to give you the recommendations that I cannot wait to give you. And wherever you are in this world. I hope that you have a wonderful day, evening, night, and life. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.